So let's get started. Okay, these are the formulas for law of cosines. I'm not sure off the top of my head what information we'll give you on your quiz, but you can use law of cosines if you have a side angle side triangle or if you're given all three sides. There's two versions of it. If you have all three sides and you want to find an angle, you would use these formulas at the bottom. If that is the case, you're going to find the largest angle first. All right, and you're going to find the largest angle first just because when we did our law of sines, sometimes we got two different triangles. And in this case, you're only given the three sides of one of your triangles. And then sometimes if you do law of cosines with a smaller angle, it's going to give you the measurements of the other triangle, right? That doesn't always happen, but in the event that it does, you want to make sure that you're not getting weird numbers, getting angle measurements that don't make sense. So you're going to find the largest angle first. You're going to use law of cosines if you don't have any matching pieces of information. So for example, if you have side A, angle A, right, you know that you can use law of sines because those match. If you don't have that and there's no way to get that information, you're going to use law of cosines. So one of these three formulas at the top. So let's have a look at this one. What pieces of information are we given here? We're given all three sides. So let's sketch a triangle just so that we can see what's going on. Let's say this is A, this is B, this is C. All right, remind me how we label the sides, the angles, sorry, or the sides. Yeah, right. So opposite of the angle. So this is going to be A equals 8 feet. This is going to be B equals 19 feet. And this is going to be C equals 14 feet. When you're given all three sides, you're going to find the biggest angle first. Do we know which one is going to be the biggest? B. Right? Why is B going to be the biggest one?
Because the side is the largest.
Good, right? It's directly across the side that is the largest. Similarly, what would the smallest angle be? A, right? Because A is the smallest side. That's always going to be the case. So let's find angle B. Now, do we have a formula that relates angle B with something? I think so, right? It's cosine of B equals A squared plus C squared, right? Minus B squared over 2AC. Let's plug in all of the information that we have into this formula. So this is going to be cosine of B equals, yeah, always the largest one. Right? So this is going to be, 8 squared plus 14 squared minus 19 squared over 2 times 8 times 14. Funny enough, this is where a lot of people make mistakes, even though it seems pretty simple to plug in, but this is where a lot of people make calculator mistakes. What I would do to avoid any calculator mistakes is I would do the entire top first, get a number for that, and then get the entire bottom. So type in 8 squared plus 14 squared minus 19 squared. Should get you negative 101. Over, and then when you do 2 times 8 times 14, this should get you 224. All right, this gives us cosine of B, so how do we just get the angle B? Good, right? We do cos inverse on both sides. So our answer is going to be whatever we get when we do cosine inverse of negative 101 over 224. Right? Again, make sure your calculator is in degrees for this lesson. And then we should get to the nearest hundredth 116.80, right? And then that's what we get for one of our angles. All right, so angle B is found. What else do we need? Right, angle A and angle C, right? So let's use something else, right? You don't really need to use law of cosines anymore. You just need to use it once per problem, and that's enough. Just because, what can we use now that I have angle B? Good, right? You can use law of sines because now you have a matching pair of letters. So I have the big B and the little b, right? And we can use law of sines to figure out what angle A is going to be. So remember, your law of sines is A over sine A equals B over sine B equals C over sine C. So let's just plug our information in. I know that 8 is the little a. We're looking for sine of big A. And this is going to equal 19 over sine of 116.80. And just like we were doing yesterday, we're going to do some cross multiplying. Doing that is going to get us 8 times sine of 116.8, or 80, equals 19 times sine of A. To get the A by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 19. All right, those cancel out. And then we get this whole thing equals sine of A. And just like before, we're going to do sine inverse to get our angle A. Again, another part where you want to be careful with what you put in the calculator. You're going to do sine inverse of 8 sine of 116.8. Close your parentheses and then divide by 19. And then we should get A is what? It's to 2 decimal places. Okay, good. So we should get 22.08 degrees. And then that's angle A. All right, what's the only thing missing now? Angle C. So to find angle C, it's just going to be 180 minus our two angles. So 180 minus 116.80. Sorry, okay, minus 22.08. We should get that C is 41.12 degrees. All right, we okay with that? Did we get the same thing? All right, not too bad, right? A little tedious, but it shouldn't be nearly as hard as some of the other stuff we've done. All right, so that's how we solve it using that case. Okay, so now let's try one like this. What information are we given here? Good, right? So let's sketch out the information just to visually see what's going on. Not always are you going to have to draw it. Maybe some of you can see it right away without having to draw it. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to say that this is A, B, and C. A is 25 degrees. We have that B is 9 meters, and we have that C is 12 meters. All right, so do we have any matching pairs here, any same letter as we do the side? No. Doesn't look like it, right? And there's also no way to get that information, right? Let's say you had another angle, then you could easily find another one to get a matching pair, but you can't do that here. So we're going to use law of cosines. All right, which version of law of cosines are we going to use to find what we're able to find first? Okay, yeah, I know I kind of worded that weird, but we're going to look for A because there's only one formula that relates the capital A with the little b and the little c. All right, so we're going to use that formula. So we're going to do A squared equals B squared plus C squared. So 9 squared plus 12 squared minus 2BC, so minus 2 times 9 times 12. Times cosine of A, so cosine of 25. And you can plug that whole thing in your calculator. We know eventually we're going to square root it. If you want to square root it right away, that's also fine. I'm just going to do it in 2 steps. So 9 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 9 times 12 times cosine of 25. And we should get a squared is about 29.3 or 237518, something like that. And that's not going to be our final answer just because this is a squared. So you're going to keep that number that you see in your calculator and then square root it. And then when you do that, what do we get for a? To 2 decimal places. 5.41. Nice. So we get 5.41 meters. All right, are we okay with that? Shouldn't be too bad. All right, what else is missing?
We don't do plus minus, so.
Okay, good point. Yeah, so since we're just talking about measurements, there's no negative measurements here, so you're just going to take the positive. You can't really have a negative meter. But good point. All right, what else is missing? Good, angle B and angle C. What can we do now to find one of those? Good, right? We can do law of sines because now we have a matching pair of letters. We have angle A and side A. We can go, let's just do B, right? We can find B. So let's do A over sine A. So we can do 5.41 over sine of 25 equals B over sine B. So it's going to be 9 over sine of B. We're looking for B.
I'm having trouble with the connection.
Cross multiply, this is going to get us 5.41 sine of B. Bless you. Bless you. Equals 9 sine of 25. And then divide both sides by 5.41. That cancels out. Right, we get sine of B equals this big fraction. And then to get just to get just B, we're going to do sine inverse on both sides. Should get 44. Can you get this number? Yeah, good. All right, and what's the only thing missing now? Good, right? And this one's super easy. You're just going to subtract from 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 25 minus our other angle. And then we should get that C is 110.33. All right, is that everything? Looks like it, right? And that's how we solve that triangle. So I'll move on to area. This is another area formula that I was talking about yesterday. We use this when we are given all the sides. So if you have all 3 sides, there is a way to find the area. We use this formula. It's called Heron's formula, Heron's area formula. It's just a big square root. It's just S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C. S is A plus B plus C over 2. That S stands for semi-perimeter. What's a perimeter? Yeah, it's like the outer sides all added up. And then what does semi mean? Yeah, right? So it's literally just half of the perimeter, right? So A plus B plus C divided by 2. But once you get that part, you just plug it into this formula. Another area formula, so we'll try the next example now. Okay. Okay, so we have all three sides here, A, B, and C. We just want to find the area. We don't necessarily have to draw this one just because we don't really need to know anything about our angle measurements. We're not really looking for any of that. The only thing that we're looking for is the area. So you're going to first find S, which we just said is A plus B plus C over 2. So plug all those numbers in. We should get 43 plus 53 plus 72. Divide all of that by 2. Again, looks very straightforward, but this is where a lot of you make a little mistake in your calculator. Let's just say you type all of this in and you get 132. All right, what should it be actually? Wait, hang on. Okay, yeah, so the top should get you 168, and then when you divide it by 2, you should get 84. What mistake do you think I made if I got 132?
You added the top and then didn't divide the top by the bottom, so you just went 43 plus 53 plus 72.
Okay, so let's just say in my calculator, I type in 43 plus 53 plus 72, and then I did divided by 2. Do we see what's wrong with that? Right? Because in here, your calculator is going to do your order of operations. You're just going to do 72 divided by 2, and then you're going to add these numbers. If you really want to divide the whole thing in one step, you're going to put parentheses around this whole top, and then divide it by 2. Or to avoid that altogether, just do it in 2 separate steps, right? Get this number first, and then get 84. So little things. I know it seems super easy, but maybe I guarantee some people might make that little mistake. So just be careful there. Once we have that now, right, this is S, we can just plug it into our area formula. Our area is going to be the square root of S, which is 84, times S minus A, so 84 minus 43, times S minus B, 84 minus 53, times S minus C, 84 minus 72. Most calculators can do this in one go. You don't have to evaluate each one. You don't have to do 84 times minus 43, and so on, get numbers, multiply them. Again, most calculators can just do this in one step. Especially if you have the graphing calculator, you can make sure that it looks exactly like what you see here. We should get, did we get 1,131.89? Nice. What's the unit there? Square meters, right? So we get that as our answer. All right, super easy. Right, it shouldn't be that bad, right? It shouldn't be nearly as hard as our chapter 7 stuff with the solving equations, the verifying and all that. It's just a little tedious, right? It's very straightforward. The steps shouldn't be crazy complicated, just a lot of weird decimals, a lot of weird numbers, lots of things to be careful of to plug into your calculator, but otherwise it shouldn't be too bad. But that's all for this lesson, and that's it for this chapter. Actually, we're not going to do anything more in this chapter.